I think the Olympics is a draw. It is like a goal for people to aim for if you are in a sport where there's no potential for money.
Or just call it the World Championships. I'll pee before I get there, and then I'll get there. Then I'll need to go to the toilet.
I'm the exact same. I don't know what it is. We need to get our prostate checked, I think something's going on with the bladder. Like, that is...
You've spoken about it, getting your prostate checked, and then I was on the urinal, and it was like, my pee was spattering. Like, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't a steady flow. It wasn't a fire hydrant that I'm used to. And then someone walked past and goes, "You better get your prostate checked." I'm like, "Oh, shit. I've been hearing about this." And I have had it checked once. I had a bleeding asshole.
Oh, really?
Have you heard about that?
I don't think I've heard this story.
Yeah, I had a bleeding asshole.
Too young to get your prostate checked. Wow.
Well, no, it wasn't for my prostate. I had a bleeding asshole. So I went to the doctor for that. And Mum had to go to the doctor as well. So she was in the same room when I was getting it checked. So it was beautiful. And then the doctor goes, "Are you okay if Mum's in the room for this?" I'm like, "I don't give a shit. I don't think she wants to see it anyway." So I didn't feel awkward about it at all.
How old were you?
It was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 21.
Wow. She's seen everything already, mate. She's your mother. Like,
she was born,
how much worse can it get?
That's true. Welcome back to the show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Number 5 podcast in the world. Hit that subscribe button. But next week is the Olympics.
Yeah, next
we are
week.
7 days out.
Jeez. Creeping up.
A lot of it. So much of it. It's... I don't know. Like, there's the drug scandals.
Yes.
There's the should athletes be paid.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot.
And then there's
a lot more to
coronavirus.
think about of it than when we were kids, just like growing up watching, like, oh, the Olympics, they must be the best paid. They're the best of everything. But it's like, oh, there's a lot going on at the moment. A lot going on with the Olympics. Like,
I'm not sure how I feel about it.
What regard though? Like, about how
I'm not
keen
like
you are
I'm
to
not
watch
sure
it?
with any of it.
You just
I don't know.
it's
Like, I love to watch it. I love to watch it. It's coming up, and I've always loved it because it was so close to my birthday. So it was always, the opening ceremony was close to my birthday, and that was the memory I've got as a kid. But should athletes be getting paid?
Well, it's an interesting one because the IOC, like the committees, the people who put on the games and that, how much do they end up getting paid? Like, the people working to put on the show, for the most part, are getting paid. There's actually a lot of people who do it like for free, like volunteer workers. At least that was the Commonwealth Games that we had at the Gold Coast. They had a ton of volunteers.
Mostly volunteers.
So there's a lot of volunteers, a lot of that, but I wonder the revenue they generate. Like, it'll be interesting to see, now that we are more aware, like, we'll look into that afterwards, won't we, just to see who's...
It'll be disgusting numbers. It'll be like FIFA numbers. It's just like illegal numbers that it's just a corrupt organisation. And you know what, as well, because you've got Olympic athletes that aren't getting paid, and there's a blackout period for sponsors, for athletes and their sponsors. So they can't endorse sponsors, in a time period before and after. Surrounding the Olympics, there's a time period. And it made me think, like, this sounds a lot like the NCAA, how they've just changed the nil ruling on the name, image, and likeness of NCAA athletes, collegiate athletes. They can now make money. They can now give lessons, tennis lessons. They can now take on brand deals outside of what the college provides them. And the Olympic Committee or the Olympics provide them of what they're wearing. They say it's Speedo togs or Vorgy togs or Adidas or Nike, whatever it is. But you can't wear anything outside of that. And it seems very like 3 weeks ago NCAA rulings.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess they would argue we put on the show, we put on the platform. You can become a superstar.
They provide
from our event, but you're not going to get any money from us to compete in it. We'll take everything we generate from this. You get whatever comes after. It's a bit strange.
Do we watch the Olympics for the Olympics, or do we watch it for the athletes?
Of course, it's the athletes. That's all the Olympics.
Do you think
is.
so?
I
Because there's
think
world
so.
championships in every single event. Like, I agree, swimming is the most watched event, or one of the most watched events. The Olympics, obviously, the 100-meter sprint is there too. But no one follows swimming outside of the Olympics.
But this is what I mean. We watch it. You're right in terms of we watch the Olympics because you couldn't distinguish a world championship, or I couldn't. Like, your layperson, apart from like signs on the side, you couldn't tell the difference between a world championships track and an Olympics track.
Of course,
It's the exact same thing. So in that regard, it's got that reputation as this is the pinnacle of amateur athletics for the most part. There are some sports where professionals can play.
Yeah.
But again, that must be a marketing thing, so they can get those draws in with like basketball and football and tennis, or I think it is that.
Because, I guess it also... The Olympics say they're the draw card.
Yes.
That's why they don't need to pay the
Right.
athletes. But, like, who's the real draw card? That's what I've been trying to figure out in my mind, because part of the reason I watch is because it's the Olympics, but you take those athletes away, you stop watching.
It's
I wanted to watch Usain Bolt versus Asafa Powell in the 100-meter sprint. Like, you want to see those sorts of world-class athletes that are at the peak of their physical performance in whatever endeavor it may be.
It's because it's held in that higher esteem. The Olympics, for whatever reason, it's because it's every 4 years, the best of the best. You have to qualify to get into it, and you grow up. Because back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, you couldn't just watch sport on a whim.
No.
Like, there were certain events where you probably didn't even watch them. I can't even think when you were able to start watching it, but
That's an
century ago,
interesting
like
point. When was
you
the
just
Olympics
heard
televised?
Yeah, you heard about who would win, and then you would build them up because, like, you're probably reading about 100 years ago in the newspaper that these people from your country competed against everyone from lots of other countries around the world. I think it might be getting lost. So back in the day, the Olympics, it was super necessary to get the exposure for an athlete who's really good at a particular sport.
Now they don't need it.
Now they don't need it, but also the demand is probably not there for it. Because we see elite athletes play every weekend at any given sport. So I think that could be part of why the draw is... It's not so
Diminishing.
much. Because I'm trying to work out, am I just getting older, no longer caring about everything that's going on in terms of, like, there's just too many things to follow. I've got to pick and choose the sports I'll continue to follow because I've got life to live. Like, you can't
There's only so
dedicate to all
much.
those things. That's also part of the appeal of that once every 4 year tournament.
It's easy to
It's so easy
dedicate time.
Yeah.
It's increased in importance because it is so rare.
Yeah,
It's the World Cup for soccer. It's the Winter Games. There's 4 year events. The Commonwealth Games is every 4 years in between that, and then you've got the Euros or the Copa. The 4 years in between that as well. You've got these milestone events, but you do have these same top level athletes performing at a Friday, Saturday every other week.
Yeah.
They don't need that stage.
Yeah, because in order to earn money from the Olympics, you have to pretty much win, secure a sponsor afterwards. If you win, you'll get paid by
But
your
the
country.
fact they're not
certain
earning
fee.
millions of dollars, like when they're the top of the game.
It's interesting. It makes you think, what's the point of striving for it? Competitiveness is it. Like, people are passion for the sport, passion for competing for the most part. We've spoken to a few Olympians recently, and I'll watch their events because there's like now a personal connection because
Yeah.
we've talked to them. We want them to win, and they're like the Australian pride thing when it comes to watching
There's
Olympic
more of a
Games.
connection now.
There's that too, yeah. There's like, that's a reason to watch now because, we've spoken to them and it's interesting. Like, oh, I now have a vested interest outside of you being Australian. Now we're like, I want to watch you. I want to
I know
see you compete. Yeah. So there's that element for us. So we'll watch those events. But like the draw, there's so much sport going on at the moment. Like the past few weeks, these international competitions and like the Euros, the Copa America. If you're like a football fan, Wimbledon just happened as well. So it's like there's so many options for sport.
Yes.
You're not waiting around for the Olympics to happen. If you love the sprinting, you love this, that's the time you watch it. But
Do you think it's
a lot
possible
of
for Olympic
sports.
athletes to be paid though?
For sure, they can get paid.
Okay, so they get paid by their country if they're winning medals. They might a gold medal, depending on the country and depending on the sport, might earn you $300,000.
Yeah.
But there's only one gold medal to be given out in one event.
The sponsorship lockouts where I think it's weird, where like you can't earn your own money while competing in our event. I think that's where it gets a little like dirty. It's like you're not going to pay
You're
them.
their athlete.
You're not going to pay
theirs.
them,
Yeah.
but also you can't make money while you're competing at our event, even though you have such a huge draw.
Yeah.
And because of that draw, part of that sponsor relationship, maybe your following has grown. More people are going to watch our event because of that too. But no, you can't make money from that. Unless you win, your country will pay you. But there's definitely no incentive from... There's no, is there? It's an amateur competition, so they get paid.
Yeah.
Your country might reward you, but I don't even know if that's every country.
Some of them, it's just so menial because they're a small country that can't afford to pay out and incentivize. Whereas I guess Australia is a better country than a majority of them, where they do get decent money.
What is the Australian? Do we know that?
I can
look it up. Because I remember seeing it years ago. I think like the Americans got paid almost 10 times as much as what an Australian athlete did
I know it depends on the event.
Yeah, there's
like swimming is much more popular than badminton.
Swimming, sprinting.
Yes.
Diving, I would say diving probably, because diving is one of the ones I've always wanted to, for whatever reason, always vested in the diving. But again, is this just subjective from like me growing up? They're just the sports that were on, and I'm like, oh, I like those.
Okay, well, this is interesting because this here is saying from Rio, Australian gold medal winners will receive a $20,000 bonus under the Adidas Medal Incentive Funding Program, providing they remain in their sport after the games. Silver medalists get $13,400 and bronze nets you $10,000. Not the kind of money to be sneezed at. What the fuck's that supposed to mean? That
is
sort
the
of is
kind
the
of
money
money
you'd sneeze at.
20 grand for 4 years of work.
Yeah.
That's for gold.
Yeah.
For gold.
For the one...
I mean, that means before then they must have been getting pennies. They mustn't have got anything.
Those looking for a bigger payday might want to look into pledging alliance to Singapore, which offers gold medal winning athletes 1 million Singapore dollars, which is 983k Australian, under its multi-million dollar awards program.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Singapore.
And Singapore's paying 500k for second and 250 for bronze.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Georgia is paying 1.6 million. Georgia, the country, is per...
I wonder how many they get. They
Okay, I thought we were doing okay.
Yeah. We're crap.
Yeah.
We're not incentivizing athletes at all. I mean, again, but should the country be paying? You should be allowed to be getting sponsored.
Yeah.
There should be a reward.
And
from
if you're
the Olympic Committee,
why you're going to their event, you're going to the NBA, you're going to the NFL, you're going to the NRL, like you're in their league. The IOC, the Olympic Committee, is a league.
They test you every freaking
you're playing by their rules, but they're not paying you.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's kind of thing where
and their excuse is we're going to keep it amateur.
Yeah, you're not keeping amateur. Look at the basketball. Look at the football.
But hang on. Okay, if you want to keep it amateur, sure, you can call it amateur. But just recently, the NCAA, which is the National Collegiate Amateur Association or something like that.
Probably Athletics Association.
Yeah, whatever. They're now allowing people as amateurs to go out and get the bag.
I think that's going to change now. I think they're going in order to keep up. Because if there's an uproar from it's going to change.
Yeah.
People are going to want incentive to keep going, or else the sports will just diminish, surely.
Well, do the sports diminish or do the Olympics diminish? Because I feel like 100-meter sprinting will be here forever. Because it's one of those things. How quick are you?
I mean, the sports will lose.
They're almost questions that exist within ourselves. Just the undeniable fact of, who's the best over this or at this or throwing this?
Yeah.
Who's the best?
Yeah.
We all want to know. And there's going to be certain events, and it doesn't probably need to be the Olympics. That verifies it.
I think it does. I think the Olympics is a draw. It is like a goal for people to aim for if you are in a sport where there's no potential for money.
Or just call it the World Championships.
But then I think less people will do it from a young age then if the incentive is, or they'll keep with it through, if the incentive is in the Olympics. Because the Olympics is a huge draw as an athlete. It is a credible thing. You can tell that story forever. I went to the Olympics. I competed. There is still that aura around the Olympics of like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was an Olympic athlete. Like, I was the top of my game, top amateur level you can get. If the Olympics goes, a lot of those sports will probably fizzle out too, or go back into like little niche sport that there's no potential for anything.
I see what you're saying, but even though there are little niche sports, and badminton springs to mind, because badminton without the Olympics would probably ping pong the same thing, table
It's
tennis,
like a school PE sport,
right?
Yeah.
But how much credibility does the Olympics give it anyway?
I mean, it gives you mainstream credibility to a sense of like people who don't know will kind of care about you for a few days.
Yeah. Like I agree,
They'll
but
invest in
sort
you
of
for like 2 days and then leave.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I'm not sure to the point that it makes it mainstream. It doesn't.
Yeah. And how much being proud of achieving that medal, is that enough of a driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I don't
might be
know.
right. Yeah, like you reckon it's on its last straws. You think the Olympics is? Oh, they need to adapt.
Yeah.
They need to incentivize.
It's just one of those old organisations that have enough power to stay old fashioned or keep its way of thinking.
Yeah.
Where you pay us money to host our event.
And there's enough people who are like, it's the Olympics still.
Yeah.
It's the Olympics. We'll still watch it. We don't even think about what the athletes are doing. They're just
And not to mention the usually negative effects it has on the city.
yes.
That hosts it, that goes broke or belly up or...
Oh, those statistics are crazy. It's a very like no one wants to host it. Like they have to ask people to host it.
Paris and USA, Paris, Los Angeles, Paris 24, Los Angeles 2028. They would by default.
Yeah.
That wasn't
No
because of a
competition.
bidding war.
It's like you just see how much a country has to put into
Yeah.
hosting it. What did you say today about even in Tokyo? Like,
So in Tokyo, the mandate, it was a 300-page mandate that the Olympic Committee, and this is, I think, 2010, when Tokyo was selected to host the games, they got sent 380-page mandate explaining all the rules that they needed to abide by, including weather stations that they needed to install within the city so that the Olympic Committee could collect enough data on the time of year and when's the best time to host events. But they had to install they have to have 40,000 units, individual rooms, for the Olympic Committee. 41,000 units for the 16-day period the Olympic goes over. In Tokyo, there's 80,000 rooms, rooms available, hotel rooms.
the whole Tokyo.
In the whole of Tokyo. So there's half of that going straight towards Olympic Committee. Not to mention athletes, not to mention tourists. I mean, they didn't know this at the time, but there's probably not any tourists.
Yes.
But
Fortunate for them.
but this is something they would have been accounting for 2 years ago. 2019 started 2020. This is something that they're probably building towards.
Yeah. That's insane. 41,000.
Half of what you've
Officials.
got is giving it away to free.
Yeah.
That's the cost of hosting the program.
Yeah. Where's the tourist incentive for that event? There is.
Unless you're going to create it.
Yeah, you're cutting it in half. Like,
Yeah.
what else is there?
And then what's it go back to after that 16-day period Olympic goes away? Nothing.
This is
Diminished,
what happens.
yeah.
They have to build up the infrastructure if they don't have it in place already, which
What they were
every
wanting-
single one doesn't have
What
enough.
they were wanting to do was put cruise ships, just dock cruise ships in the harbour, and people, obviously not the athletes because they got to be in the villages,
Yes.
but put people on cruise ships and use them as rooms.
Yeah.
Put people up.
Not ideal, is it? I mean, I'd cop it to go watch an Olympic Games, I think. To
I
go
think
watch
I'd
a
still
sporting
do it,
event,
yeah.
I'd definitely go. Like,
You can sell it to me.
cruise
A
ship's
cruise ship.
fine.
Hell
Yeah, like
they got
that,
the big boat on the boat.
bit of a cruise before.
Big pool on the boat.
Fun vibe, I guess, in between.
You can sell it, yeah.
But it's funny that they ask a lot. Like that's what they were bidding. They wanted to host this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, we need half of your capacity.
I feel like the power dynamic is shifting.
yeah,
Where people were bidding and desperate to have the games so that it would be in their city. And now people are starting to realize, we're like, actually, we don't fucking want you in our city.
yeah. Let's keep this money and put it towards
Yeah.
other things. Like,
Let's build a hospital.
yeah.
Let's not build your ping pong stadium.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Ping pong's pretty fun. Hospitals. They
just
just
kill
last
people.
for a long time and help a lot of people. Waste of time.
It's probably not worth it.
It's funny. It's didn't take long to change that because it wasn't long ago. We were bidding for World Cups in Australia. We were bidding for World
Well,
Cup.
we
had
are
the
bidding.
Asia Cup. We still are.
We're still
We're
bidding.
probably bidding on the low now. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's not what it was. And we're a country that kind of has some infrastructure in place because we have stadiums and facilities and things. So it wouldn't be as much of a burden as like a Rio.
Yes.
It really suffered
Yes.
apparently. Like, there's one of their big stadiums they built for one of the World Cups. I'm pretty sure it's just covered in forest. It's just been grown over because it's just in such a terrible location. No local team could take it or like even afford to use it as their facility. It's just multi-million-dollar stadium just wasting away. It's like
Quite a bit of what they've done with Tokyo is just temporary. Some of the temporary stadiums, I can't remember which ones, but I was told, I think volleyball is temporary.
and that's the most sensible thing I've heard. Like,
Yeah, pack
you're not
down.
watching for the stadium. This one especially, you're not going to have the tourist influx, which, was the only reason you would have a huge stadium. But if you have temporary stands, it makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world.
And actually, one other thing they needed to provide was a backup power supply. So they need to be able to run off generators for 16 days in case electricity just went out for 16 days.
That seems like a lot.
It's a bit excessive.
Just put it on the hospital grid or whatever.
Yeah.
Hook it into that same one, whatever that is, and it's like, oh.
And then what was her name? Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yes.
Got done with the weed.
The doping.
Yeah.
The doping weed.
It's doping, but it's not doping. Like that's
It's
the weird
classed under
thing.
the same
Like she
kind of
shouldn't have done
suspension,
it
isn't
because it's known that it's not allowed. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't improve your performance.
It's a strange one getting banned from the Olympics, like for something that. I mean, it's funny because in her country where she's from,
America.
America. Do we know what state she based at? But
I don't know. She
they're even,
was trialing in Oregon.
they're legalizing weed left and right. Like it's not even considered illegal in plenty of places over there, and it's not a performance enhancer. So it's like, I understand that she knew the rules and she still shouldn't have done it because she knew she would be suspended from the Olympics for doing it. But it's an interesting one, categorizing it as doping. Whereas
Very.
doping is commonly referred to as steroids. So you hear doping and you think, oh, she's jacking herself up with some like testosterone or some kind of PED that's drastically improving her performance.
Which she does look like. She's on some jacked up testosterone or PED.
Yeah, it's because she's so athletic. Yeah.
But apparently she's clean, other than the weed that was in her system. And that was a 30-day ban. The weed that was in her system gives her a 30-day ban, which overlaps and just misses out on the 100 and 200 and gives her enough time, because I believe the timing was August 5th, in which she could still do the 400-meter relay. But she didn't end up getting picked.
Yes, they took
for whatever reason. They took her out of the team.
Because it's probably not worth taking up that spot if she can't do the 100 200.
No, she could. Okay, yes, I see what you're saying.
There's probably a spot. They're just like, we're not taking up that space.
Maybe they were
someone
tight.
who could do it all. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. So she didn't end up getting. Well, she's not going.
No, that's great. She's got like a huge following and stuff. Like people love
2
her.
million on Instagram. Yeah,
People love her.
yeah. But because WADA, I remember doing this for school. There was 3 things that they would judge a PED based on. It was it gives you an unfair edge on competition, and it is unsafe for your own health. And there was one other thing that I can't remember, but weed doesn't fit into it.
No. What is it? Relax your muscles,
unless,
water recovery?
Unless you want to argue the fact that it's bad for your health. But I feel like there's enough information out there now that people know it really doesn't have minimal to nil effects on your health.
Yeah, unless you're like predisposed to schizophrenia or like
Exactly,
some kind of mental
For
disorder.
the majority, yeah.
But then America's a country that'll like sell you all these prescription drugs that you're going to get hooked on and they're going to destroy your life, and actually advertise them to you as well. Where it's like I think them in New Zealand that are only 2 countries in the world.
You have
we
no
can
idea
advertise
how
a drug.
weird it is to watch a TV commercial saying, "Take this antidepressant, you'll feel happier." No, this is not a joke. Like, I just remember when I was living in America, sitting at the cafeteria, because I'd often go there to study. For me, it was like the perfect place because you sit there and then you got food there. So you just bounce between your laptop and the thing, and oftentimes you end up with more food than work done. But on the TVs, you roll through and there were ads for it.
I mean, I only know this because...
This is Lizzie. Lizzie works 9 to 5 and she has to go home and take care of her kids. Oftentimes, Lizzie's depressed. Lizzie doesn't have the energy she requires to deal with her kids. But Lizzie takes opioids.
Now
she's just running around with her kids.
It's insane because I only was exposed to it when...
And it's like, all right, I might get... Like, but that's...
Yeah, when I first started watching American football, like if you watch it on our TV, like you watch it on Channel 10 or whatever it was on here, they would put Australian ads, so you wouldn't see any of this shit. But if you streamed it directly from the Game Pass, you'd get the whole American ad experience. And I remember just seeing these ads advertising these drugs, and then at the end it just lifts off 100 side effects. And it's just like, I couldn't help but laugh every time. I'm just like, what?
The paragraph that we see on the medical, on the like the Panadol ads, which is like 4 to 6 lines, it's like 19 lines on theirs. It's like half the
pushing like
TV
trial
screen.
drugs or whatever. It's like these random things that are just being promoted. Like, you might.
And then they can do off-label as well, where it gets FDA approved for curing your headache, but actually you're getting it prescribed for this back pain, and oftentimes it's not the right drug, but the pharmacist is getting paid to prescribe it for other uses, or just give it as many prescriptions as possible, write it as many scripts.
I wonder how many of these kind of drugs are like going through some of these systems or these athletes where it's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Is that all weed with probably similar side effects to one of them? Or
there was a movie as well recently about the OxyContin crisis in America, because I think what happened is on the OxyContin, there's a seal, a slow release seal.
Yes.
But people figured out quite quickly how you could, crush it up, take it off, and then you're just getting the 2-day hit in 15 minutes. And then they realized how bad it was, and they pushed it very hard. And they realized how bad it was, and they took it off the shelves. But everyone had already been so addicted to it, so then people just went to heroin. Because it was the next best thing to get that hit. And essentially it's the same thing anyway.
Yes. Yeah, just different one.
Yeah.
You don't know where it comes from.
You're getting it from the street. Yeah, a bit more.
Cut with something else maybe, but it's like...
Maybe some fentanyl thrown in.
Like, is anyone held accountable for that though? Like those companies, like you have to pay for everyone's...
I have no idea. Hey,
Probably not. Like, we took it off.
Does weed need to be legal worldwide before it can be considered non-doping or legal, like in the Olympic eyes?
Based on your definition of what doping is, like it doesn't matter if it's legal worldwide. Like it doesn't make sense why that would be a substance that would get you banned if there's no performance benefit. Because I'm sure, probably not advised, but you're probably allowed to smoke, you're allowed to drink, you're allowed to do lots of these things while being an athlete at the Olympics. They wouldn't recommend it, I'm sure, but it's kind of on that same level where like alcohol brings on a lot of things and isn't good for you. That's bad, detrimental to your health.
But that's legal in every country.
It's legal in every country, but it's like in terms of the effects on it, so maybe you're right. Maybe it just has a stigma around it where it doesn't matter what it actually does to you. The fact that it's considered illegal, it can't be part of your thing. But again, a lot of American sports are decriminalizing weed in terms of they don't ban players for it like they used to.
It seems like it's going like in Australia we're always slow to act, but it seems inevitable that it's going to be happening soon.
Yeah, and she should have known. She should have known that not to do it. So it's like it's unfortunate, but again, she didn't know the rules. You can't make special exceptions just because she's popular and she's really good. This will be either a point where they're like, okay, we need to look at this rule, or it's like
I feel like it's more about yes. Should we look at this rule? Like, is this rule ridiculous?
Yeah.
It's not, and I don't think she's complaining about it either.
No, she was like, I knew the rules. Yeah. I shouldn't have done it.
She said she did it because she was going through a hard time and she just wanted to ease her pain. That's what she said in it. It was a quote that I'll try and find again. But
I mean, that's not a good thing. Like,
no,
that's like I
Yeah.
drank to make me feel better. It's like maybe it is a bit of like an underlying issue there. Like, you need a drug to ease your pain.
yeah,
But it's yeah. She was very, from all the comments or the tweets or whatever I saw. It was like she knew what she did wrong.
I know I can't hide myself, so in some type of way, I was trying to hide my pain. That's what she said. That's why she did the weed.
Yeah.
Which isn't a great place to be in, but it sort of explains why she did it. And she's not asking for sympathy. She's not asking for an exemption. But yeah, should it be re-looked at or looked at?
I'm sure it will be, and I think if like all of America legalizes it, they'll start to look at it like, okay, is this doping, or is this a drug that's just not legal
Because
in places?
early days in the Olympics, they didn't look at doping. They didn't give a fuck. It was just do whatever you can to become the best, and that was it.
Russia didn't get the memo when that changed it
Yeah.
because they're like, we're still thinking about this. We will state mandate doping.
We have the best program.
That was from the 40s, man. We've changed the rules. You can't do it anymore.
It was in 1967 they banned the use of performance enhancing drugs, and it wasn't until the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City did they actually start testing, and that was because of a death that they thought was doping related, but it was actually just heat stroke.
Right.
But that was what got people to look at it, and ever since then it's become a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Because the stories of people eating intestines and testicles to get an edge. And really that turned out that was just a testosterone boost, which everyone's sort of on at the moment. Relatively, testosterone you can buy over the counter. So do the Olympics just do a U-turn and go, fuck it, just do what you can?
They can't.
They could, though.
They can't.
Why?
You can't just let it be free reign, because then you're pricing people out. Because then it becomes an economic thing where it's like, if you can't afford the drugs, you're just not going to get to the level to compete with everyone else. Because like we said, these people aren't getting paid to compete. So then you're just going to get the rich people who can afford. Because by all accounts, consistent doping and these steroid therapies, it's not cheap.
No.
It's not cheap to put yourself on it.
Yeah.
So I guess you get a sponsor, you have a big following, athletes with big followings who get the sponsors can then afford to do it.
The big
I
get
think
bigger.
it takes out fair competition, which is meant to be the idea of
I
games
agree
like the
with
Olympics.
what you're saying, but it feels like they're trying to establish fair competition and they're just not succeeding at it.
I mean, they're kind of, they catch you if you dope because they keep your shit for years.
Yes.
They test it later on. They'll revoke your medal. I mean, you can still make a career out of the thing you did while you were doping, get away with it for 7 years and be okay from it. But I think it is better to test and to make sure you're as natural as possible. As far as we can see with what we've got capable of testing you, you can't dope. It can't just be free reign. I think there needs to be that fair element. Less people would be interested in it, I think.
You reckon?
I think so. It might be more people are quicker, but then like, yeah, but they use drugs. I want to see the person who's not.
I feel like people
cheating
know
to get-
that though. Like, does anyone look at some of those athletics, those sprinters, and go, "Oh yeah, he's clean."
They're all clean. None of them using anything clearly.
Like, I feel like it's just obvious.
It might be obvious, but it's also you can
People
plausibly deny it because
Okay,
they tested
yeah.
him. He's clean. You might in the back of your head think they're probably all doping, but because you don't know they are, you think they're clean.
You got enough reason to
The benefit
have
of the
hope.
doubt. Benefit of the doubt. Yeah, hope. Okay, this guy just works hard and he does it. Then when you find out they were doping, you can be like in the back, oh, well, I suspected it. But I think if you're like me, you'd be a little disappointed. Like, I guess you got to cheat to get ahead. Like, it doesn't seem like a great message. You got to like put yourself at an advantage over everyone else, where this is meant to be something that's fair game. I mean, if they opened it up, sure, it would be fair game then to dope. But I think you got to keep it fair game. You can't, in terms of you can't dope. I don't think you can just have open-ended, the richest countries in the world, then just dope up their athletes and they win.
Imagine what sort
China
of
would
humans would
dominate.
get created.
China would dominate.
Imagine what sort of humans would get created.
That CRISPR shit, they're just genetically engineering. Well, we'll put this, 6'5".
It's like turning dials
It's a
up.
rower's body. Yeah. This is the elite for rowing. Okay, put them in that. It opens up a completely different wormhole if you let everything go. Or you make a separate competition. I think we talked about this before, but there's a doping and a non-doping.
I don't think the separate competition would ever work.
No, because the doping would probably take over eventually because they'd just be better athletes.
You're not going to watch shit athletes.
Yeah, but they're not shit still. They're natural athletes who are good, but then you would
Yes.
get the perception of them shit compared to the doping, I
But
guess.
we can always watch lower level sports on TV too. There's always levels. In the AFL, you've got the VFL, the Victorian Football League.
I didn't even know that till 3 days ago.
But in soccer, you've got levels.
Yes.
You've got national teams, you've got club teams, and some like the A League isn't as good as the La Liga. So you've got all these different leagues that you can follow,
Yes.
and you're going to follow the better ones.
You will. Yeah.
Unless you've got some tie to the shitty league, you're going to follow the better leagues. We're from Brisbane. We don't follow the Brisbane Roar that much. Like, we sort of know what's going on, but you'd rather follow Barca.
Yeah.
So you're not going to follow the clean athlete who does okay in their competition, but is not nearly as good as the top level. You follow the top level.
I guess, but I think that's different because you're following the top level of skill. Those guys aren't necessarily they're not really doping to be the top level of soccer. You're not gonna. I mean, to aid recovery.
Yes, but you want to see the top level.
Yeah, but the skill in a sport like sprinting is being able to do it naturally, quickly, just through training. No, that's the skill element of it. Like, the skill is the technique in the running. The skill is being physically amazing and doing it, not altering your physical attributes by putting something foreign in there. The skill from a really talented football player that's playing in the top leagues, I mean, the skill from the team is that they can pay you more money and draw in the best players. But it's a skill that's developed. It's not you're just physically enhancing yourself with outside shit that's got nothing to do with the sport just because it makes you be able to perform better. You know what I mean? That's why I think there's a difference. Difference in terms of, like, they're no longer the best. They're the best because of so many other factors outside of just hard work and developing skill. Whereas the clean athlete is just from developing skill, working hard. That's the main thing. Taking the recovery seriously. Nutrition, they probably have to be more disciplined because they have to recover better just based on diet and how they treat their body. I see what you mean, and I can see how it would be more entertaining, or could be, but I couldn't get out of my head how it's just like, it's artificial. It's bullshit. It's created. Still hard work involved, but it's artificial.
But people follow bodybuilding.
But that's because it's known in that sport that's okay, because you're not...
It's not.
You sure?
It's known that everyone does it.
Yeah.
But it's not legal.
Do they test for it?
Very little.
And that's what I mean. There's an understanding that we want to see... The appealing part of this sport is that these bodies are insane.
How jacked, tanned, and juicy can you get?
Good. That's the interesting element of it. Is like how big they can get. How far can we push the human body and how bulky can we make it?
So on the soccer, Italy win the Euros.
Italy win the
It's
Euros.
not coming home. It's going to Rome.
Going to Rome, absolutely.
There's been some interesting things that have come out of it. 7 News in Australia. Like, what the fuck were they doing?
Yeah.
Some bad journalism.
Terrible journalism.
And English fans are just like America.
Well, English fans are worse in terms of they have a reputation in football. Like, when they travel places, they've got those movies where it's like the hooligans. Back in the day, back in the, I don't know, it was early 90s or 80s in England. They would just meet up at football games. There were hooligans from one team, hooligans from another, and they would fight each other after the match. But even now, they're like beating up, causing stampedes after losing, harassing their own team. It's insane.
This is some like America shit. It is like
it's like America
riots.
rioting shit.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the American sports because, I mean, they have more sense at sporting games at least, but it's crazy. Like, the aftermath of losing a final and penalties. Like, the team played well enough to get to the final. They lose on penalties.
Doesn't matter.
I know, this is crazy. But they lose on penalties, which is almost as much of a coin flip as you can get, even though it's skilled to score penalties and save them, but it's as much of a coin flip as you can get in that. And you take it out like that, like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is going on? You've seen the videos,
I'm not that
right?
passionate about anything, though. I'm not that passionate about anything like that.
No sport. I used to be. Like, I used to love football. I'd get up and watch it. The past couple of years, I now look at, like, grown-ups of that age that are going to sporting events like that, and because their team has lost, they're getting angry and fighting people. What have they got going on in their life? It doesn't seem like they'd have much. I don't think anyone with, like, any amount of success, unless they're a TikToker who gets success from, like, starting fights on, or people watch them do that. Like, I don't understand the mentality.
I've had a bit of success on TikTok.
You have. You hit millions.
3.9 milli.
Thank you, Conor McGregor's ankle break, I guess.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
it was him saying to Dustin Poirier that his wife is in his DMs.
Yeah, it's... But unless you're that on TikTok, and then you're going and starting fights, because that's your persona, I guess. That's where you're making money. But these grown men, like, see some of these guys, you're like...
Yeah.
What are you doing? That guy's probably an accountant. Like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? Beating up these random, like, Italian fans and...
And what's going on with Channel 7? So they put out a Facebook... They shared their own Facebook article, and they said 3 black players failed in the penalty shootout, which England lost 3-2 against Italy.
Like, that's your post. Like, Channel 7.
What?
Wow.
What? I don't get it. I'm so confused by this. I'm so, like, is this even real in Australia?
Like, I don't understand the thinking. Like, the actual articles, this is the headline of the actual article. Like, abhorrent abuse, England players cop racist taunts after shootout. So they've posted in their feed with a link to the article that 3 black players failed in the penalty shootout.
So they're better than the people they're reporting on?
Yeah, this is what I don't understand. Like, the ignorance involved in that. It's like, what are you doing? I maybe, like, contextually, they're trying to preface what the article's about by mentioning that the 3 players are black.
Teams,
but it's just insane.
The review teams, Channel 7, how many people do they have going through their stuff before it actually gets put out? But they're a major news outlet.
But this is the thing. When I was studying journalism, albeit 3 half years of studying journalism.
I thought you were going to say 3 months for a second.
Like, 3 years of it with some semesters attended, some semesters not. But this is the thing that's going out in journalism. Like, the editor is one of the things who they would oversee everything. That was the mediator essentially between the journalist and the article being put out or whatever. They must have fired their editor at Channel 7 and they're like, journos, we just trust you to post the right things. Social media guy, we trust you. Don't do anything stupid. They need to reevaluate because that is insane. Like, rightfully copying abuse from everyone, like European or English or people involved in
it's
English
actually
media.
Just not relevant, though. It's just... Like, where does that come in? Where is that necessary in the article?
Did they just use that? Was it a ploy to get attention to the article to get people in?
I thought about that.
So ignorant of it.
Like, I thought about that.
To not think of the backlash.
I thought about the free press that they get from it. And I think all press is good press. There's no such thing as bad press in most cases. But I don't think as a news outlet, you can be trying to get fake press by putting out bad press.
This is the problem with news today.
I don't think Channel 7 can do that. I think they will lose respect, lose interest. I think the company will suffer, at least temporarily. Maybe they'll come back from it, but shit, when you're saying that...
Yeah, this is the problem with news today.
Like, Jake Paul can get away with it.
Yeah.
Jake Paul, because it gets shared around... But people also know it's clickbaity, but they also talk about it. But as a company that's trying to maintain a clean image...
This is what I'm saying. This is the problem with news today. It's no longer about good journalism posting it out. They are their views, their clicks is what dictates how much money they make and how they can establish. So they're now, this is this final sort of me. They're now like put out whatever's going to get the most clicks on
They're
us.
career mail.
That's
They've gone
all-
career mail on
That's
us.
all we need. And they always have been. It's like,
I'll-
we need the clicks. We don't care how we get it. Oh no, we've made a mistake here. Because, we need some credibility as well. Shit, we're a news outlet.
Yeah.
They've conflated too much into entertainment and just
I
getting
wanted to share it and say, listen to on my Instagram. I wanted to share it and say, listen to the Outspoken show to not hear this shit.
Yeah.
It's not like, what's going on? But that
that's
was
crazy.
one of the things that by listening to the Impulsive Logan Paul's podcast that I learnt that they learnt was when they were constantly focused on daily vlogging, putting out an episode every day, a show every day. They're just focused on the clips. They get 5 million views here, 5 million views yesterday, the day before. They're constantly focused on that hamster wheel of getting clicks, getting increased engagement, longer engagement, drive by metrics. They stop thinking about what they're actually putting out. And he didn't have a review team in the process at the time, so he puts out a video of a suicide forest, and people don't like it, rightfully so. But it's just him checking, and they're in the mindset of get the video out, get the next one, what will get the most clicks, and that's part of it.
And that's what happened. That must be what happened here because this is the most important thing in journalism now is get it out quick and draw people into it.
Yeah, and maybe they did what they wanted to do.
I mean, maybe they didn't have. They thought they could just delete the post and they get away with it, like alter it to just like 3 players.
Potentially, that could be it.
That could be it, and
That
they
could
just
be it.
misread like, oh wait, people can screenshot things. Oh,
Wow.
it's so like so dumb, so short-sighted. It's not a good look for a news outlet. But again, news outlets already don't have trust. They're probably just banking on let's get clicks. Like that's
Maybe.
so bad.
Maybe. That could be it. And Djokovic has won Wimbledon. He's won the first 3 majors of the year, US Open coming in. He's going for that Grand Slam, baby.
He's back. Djokovic is back. Ash Barty's still like dominating.
She's
top
on
of women's.
top.
We've got an Australian tennis player who's like worthy of getting to the top. Like she's dominating too. But Djokovic is.
Yeah.
There was a period like a couple of years where he just couldn't. He was gonna be the best. He was gonna overtake Roger.
He had a couple of
Yeah,
injuries
things just
that
set
stunted him in his late 20s. I think he's early 30s now, maybe 32, 33. But a couple of injuries. And that was around the time where Roger sort of came back to life. I think it was maybe 3 years ago now. So, I don't know.
What's he got left? It's the French, isn't it? The
No,
Roland Garros?
US Open.
He's already won Roland Garros?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so...
Wow. Well, there you go.
And
He's back, baby.
he's back on hard court. Like,
That's
there's
his
no
domain.
reason as to why he shouldn't win the US Open.
He's back. He's going to overtake Federer as the best ever. He
think
was
so.
on that path
I
until
think
those
so.
injuries.
I think he's got a lot more major wins in him.
Yeah, if he's coming back winning like this.
He's robotic like.
Oh,
So, I don't know. We'll see.
but
And
it's impressive.
Yeah. And I'm going to make a prediction because we're recording this as the State of Origin game has just begun. And we have lost 3-0 in the series.
Heavy defeat
Heavy defeat.
on home soil at the
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast to a full stadium. I'm going to guess 20%.
Well, okay, give a score prediction and then we'll wrap up.
Score prediction, 32 to 12. Give us 12.
Okay, I'll say 26 to 6.
Wow, lower scoring, but the last one was pretty low.
Yeah.
Too.
Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.
Peace out.